Shamballa was never about peace, Shanti. It was always about power, Shakti. The entire history of the 20th century was a race to find the reality control panel hidden in the Himalayas. And here is the punchline. That race didn't end. It just moved out of the mountains. You know the image. We all have this archetype hardwired into our subconscious. Snowy Himalayan peaks where no maps go. A valley where time stands still. Monks levitating in silence far away from wars, taxes, and suffering. Shangri-La, Shamballa. It is the dream of every tired soul. When you look at the news, when you feel the crushing pressure of the modern world, you want to escape there. You want to believe that somewhere out there a pure place exists. A spiritual safe haven. But what if I told you this image is a lie? What if I told you that the most powerful men of the 20th century, intelligence chiefs, dictators, and architects of new empires, weren't looking for Shamballa to meditate? They weren't looking for a monastery. They were looking for a bunker. They were hunting for the planetary war room. When we crack open the declassified archives of the Soviet NKVD, the Nazi Ahnenerbe, or British intelligence, we find a chilling truth. To them, Shamballa wasn't heaven. It was a technological treasury. They believed that whoever found the entrance would gain admin rights to control humanity. Come with me. We need to deconstruct the myth that was designed to keep us asleep. Today we follow the trail of expeditions that weren't seeking enlightenment. They were seeking the absolute weapon. And we'll discover that the expedition is still ongoing. It just moved from the mountains, directly into your phone. To understand what is happening today, we have to go back to when the world map was being rewritten in blood. The 1920s and 30s. An era when science blended with magic in ways no modern screenwriter could invent. The first clue leads us to Moscow, deep into the underground of the infamous Lubyanka. Most people think the Bolsheviks were hardcore materialists who only believed in the hammer and sickle. Wrong. Meet Gleb Bokij. He was one of the most powerful men in the USSR, chief of the cryptanalytic department and the special section of the NKVD. They called him the Red Merlin. While the revolution raged above, Bokij was conducting experiments underground with a single goal: human upgrade. Bokij believed communism couldn't win through politics alone. He believed they needed to alter human biology. Together with the mystic Alexander Barchenko, they believed Shamballa held the ancient science of neuroenergetics. What exactly were they after? They were looking for telepathy technology. Picture this. It's 1925, and the Soviet secret police is looking for a way to network citizens' brains. They were hunting for a psychic internet. They wanted to eliminate individualism. They wanted to create a hive mind where no one could lie to the party, because the party could hear your thoughts. Barchenko planned an expedition to Shamballa to retrieve the blueprints for this weapon of mass unification. These weren't madmen. They were cold pragmatists who wanted to utilize magic as a technology of power. But the Soviets weren't alone. On the other side of the barricade in Berlin, Heinrich Himmler had his own obsession: the Ahnenerbe organization, ancestral heritage. The Nazis didn't see Tibet as a land of prayer. They saw it as the sanctuary of the original master race. In 1938, they launched an expedition led by Ernst Schaefer. Officially, a scientific trek for flora and fauna. Unofficially, a hunt for proof that Aryans descended from gods. And this is where the story turns into pure sci-fi. Schaefer's expedition brought back a statue to Germany that defies explanation. It's known as the Iron Man. It's a carving of a Buddhist deity with a swastika on its chest. But that's not the scary part. When scientists analyzed this statue in 2007, they found out it's not stone. It isn't even terrestrial iron. It is carved from the Chinga meteorite, metal that survived a fall from space, atmospheric entry, and impact in Siberia 15,000 years ago. The Nazis saw this statue as proof of their theory. They believed the rulers of Shamballa were not humans, but architects from the stars. And what did they want? They wanted their tech. They wanted VRIL, energy capable of creating and destroying matter. For them, Shamballa was an armory. And weaving between these two monsters, Stalin and Hitler, was a man who looked like a saint. Nicholas Roerich, painter, mystic, author of the Peace Pact. But beneath the surface, Roerich was playing the great game with British, American, and Soviet intelligence. He traveled with a heavily armed expedition, manipulating Mongolian tribes, trying to forge his own sacred union of the East. He believed he possessed the Chintamani stone, a fragment of a meteorite from Orion that functioned as a radio transmitter to Shamballa. His influence was so massive he even manipulated U.S. Vice President Henry Wallace. He got the USA to fund his expedition while he secretly looked for a way to become the King of Asia. Do you see the pattern? Why didn't they teach us this in history class? They were all looking for the same thing. They weren't looking for peace. They were looking for contact with the control center. They believed that inside Shamballa sits the king of the world, Rigdon Jeppo, holding his finger on the pulse of history, and whoever makes a pact with him wins the war for the future. You might be thinking, cool story, but that's history. Those were old-school Nazis and Bolsheviks. We live in rational times now. And this is the moment you need to pay attention. Because this story didn't end. The expeditions to Shamballa never stopped. They just changed location. The seekers of absolute power swapped fur coats and ice axes for hoodies and fiber optics. They moved from Tibet to Silicon Valley. Look at today's tech elite. What are they promising us? They promise immortality. They promise the interconnection of all minds, the metaverse. They promise human upgrade. It is the exact same song Bokij and Barchenko sang in 1925, just with better marketing. It's called transhumanism. And its goal is terrifyingly similar to the goals of the old esotericists: to abandon this imperfect biological body and upload consciousness into the Pure Land, into the cloud. They want to build a digital Shamballa. Let me know in the comments, and do you see the connection too? Is today's race for AI and brain chips just a continuation of these experiments? Type New Era if you think history is repeating itself. And listen closely to what they say about us, about ordinary people. Elon Musk called the human body a biological bootloader for artificial intelligence. Do you know what that means? A bootloader is a tiny program that just starts the system and then gets deleted. According to this ideology, our only purpose is to birth the digital god, superintelligence, and then step aside. We are just fuel. We are just data carriers. Those who control the algorithms today behave exactly like the high priests of old Tibet. They create a closed society of the chosen ones. They build bunkers in New Zealand, their new Agartha. And they sell us the illusion of connection while they mine us for data. The scariest part of the Shamballa legend comes from the Kalachakra Tantra prophecy. It states that in the year 2424, King Rudra Chakran will ride out from the gates of Shamballa to lead an apocalyptic war against the barbarians to cleanse the world. Totalitarian regimes loved this text. They saw it as an instruction manual for genocide in the name of the greater good. And today's techno-utopians? They see the barbarians in our very biological nature, in our errors, in our emotions. They want to cleanse the world of the imperfect human factor. Why am I telling you this? To scare you? Number. I want to wake you up from the hypnosis. For centuries, they looked for Shamballa out there, in the mountains, underground, in technology, in chips. But they failed every time. And they will fail this time too. Because they made one fatal translation error. Shamballa is not a place that can be conquered. Shamballa is not an operating system that can be hacked. Remember the statue of the Iron Man? It was made of meteorite, of stardust. Look at yourself. The elements in your blood, the carbon in your bones. It all was forged in the cores of exploding stars. You are the meteorite. You are the alien technology they are so desperately looking for. Your consciousness, your ability to feel compassion, pain, love, and defiance. That isn't a glitch in the system that needs to be fixed with a chip. That is the greatest power in the universe. Shakti. A machine can calculate, but it cannot feel the sacred. A machine can simulate reality, but you can create it. Don't let them tell you that you are an obsolete model. Don't let them tell you that you need an upgrade from a Silicon Valley billionaire to be complete. The war for the future started a long time ago. They want your attention, and they want your soul. But Shamballa isn't a place to hide from the war. It is the place from where the war is commanded. Shamballa is the control room, the center that Hitler, Stalin, and the others sought. And it's not on a map. It is in your heart. Stop looking for a hole in the fence to escape. Turn around, go into the control center, your inner self, and start commanding your own world. Escape is for slaves. A free human doesn't run. A free human wakes up and takes control of their source code. Don't wait for the king of Shamballa. Look in the mirror and rule.